Okay, so it's like 8 AM in the morning, and I just sort of got out of bed and adjusted my camera for the last hour, and started to record this video. So if you're currently watching this video minutes, hours, or even days after its release, then it's probably been about 2 or 3 weeks now since Ghislaine Maxwell and R. Kelly both received their prison sentences. Now, I begun writing this video when shit really hit the fan, and now I've got a large stack of things to talk about. For example, Denmark saw a large shooting the other day, as did a 4th of July parade in the US. Now, these are both things that I'd like to address, but I've not quite caught up yet. So we're going to talk about it one step at a time. We're going to talk about Ghislaine Maxwell's sentence today, what I think about them, and why I presume they got that sentence. There's a fair amount to go through for the Maxwell trial alone, so we're not going to address the R. Kelly situation in this video today. And it's also to do with the fact that I've seen that Jeffrey Epstein documentary on Netflix, so I know considerably more about Ghislaine Maxwell than I do R. Kelly. Now, I won't be giving many details on these two people, because I believe that the only things we need to know about these two people are the crimes that they committed, and that's all. So Ghislaine Maxwell has been given 20 years in prison. She was found guilty of sex trafficking of children, as well as other crimes that she committed in league with Jeffrey Epstein. She was arrested on the 2nd of July 2020, charged with the crime of enticement of minors, as well as the sex trafficking of underage girls. On the 29th of December 2021, she was convicted of 5 out of 6 convictions, as well as for the sex trafficking of minors. She also lied under oath of Epstein's abuse of underage girls, in which she faces a second criminal trial for 2 charges. She was placed on suicide watch on the 24th of June 2022, just 4 days before she received her 20-year sentence. She had multiple files against her from girls who were also included in the Epstein case. The first one came through in 2015 in the form of Virginia Giuffre. Giuffre accused Maxwell of recruiting her back in 1999, back when she was a minor, accusing Maxwell of grooming her to provide sexual services for Epstein. Giuffre met Maxwell at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago club in Palm Beach, Florida, when she was just 16 years of age, working as a spa attendant. She was introduced to Epstein, groomed by them both, and taught Epstein's preferences in the ways of oral sex. Giuffre also claimed that Maxwell had trafficked her, along with other underage girls, usually at Epstein's illegal sex parties, at his home in New York, New Mexico, Palm Beach, and his home on the United States Virgin Islands. Maxwell called Giuffre a liar, then was sued by Giuffre on accounts of defamation, in which Giuffre won and was paid millions by Maxwell. In 2017, Sarah Ransom filed a suit against Maxwell and Epstein. Ransom claimed that Maxwell had hired her to give massages to Epstein and was threatened by Maxwell with the promise of physical harm or the destroying of her career prospects if she didn't comply with the sexual demands of Jeffrey Epstein. 4 lawsuits were filed in 2019 by Maria Farmer, Jennifer Aros, an unnamed woman named Priscilla Doe, and Annie Farmer, Maria Farmer's sister. Maria Farmer went public on the 16th of April 2019, exposing Maxwell and Epstein of sexually assaulting herself and her sister, Annie Farmer, in separate locations in 1996. Maria met Epstein and Maxwell at a New York art gallery reception in 1995, in which she was invited to work on an art project in billionaire Leslie Wexner's house in Ohio. This would be where Maria Farmer was sexually assaulted by the two. In that same summer of 2019, Maria would also tell the FBI and the police that her sister Annie was invited to Epstein's home in New Mexico, where the two would then molest her on a massage table. Jennifer Eros filed a lawsuit on the 14th of August 2019 against Epstein, Maxwell, and 3 members of Epstein's staff. This lawsuit was amended in October to name the 3 members of staff as Leslie Groff, Kimberly Espinoza, and the late Rosalind Fontanier. The unnamed woman, known simply as Priscilla Doe, filed a lawsuit against Maxwell and 2 others on the 20th of August 2019, claimed to have been recruited and trained by Maxwell in 2006, and was claimed to have been trained with step-by-step instructions of how to give Epstein sexual services. The last lawsuit was filed by Annie Farmer herself in November 2019 and accused Epstein and Maxwell of rape, battery, and false imprisonment. She also sought unspecified damages, and then in 2020, 2 more lawsuits were made, both against and won by Maxwell herself, which we don't really care much for. It was basically her filing a lawsuit against Epstein, who was now dead at this point. She was just trying to get money from working with Epstein. The only thing she deserved at this point was a long, harsh sentence in jail. The first lawsuit in January 2020 was filed by an unknown Jane Doe. This lawsuit claimed that a 13-year-old girl had been recruited by Maxwell and Epstein in the summer of 1994 and subjected her to sexual abuse. This claim stated that this 13-year-old girl was sexually assaulted over a period of 4 years by Epstein, and that Maxwell was a big part of this, including the recruiting process. Some of you may have been wondering why she wasn't arrested at the same time as Epstein. Maxwell went into hiding. She was eventually found in Bradford, New Hampshire in the United States by the FBI on the 2nd of July 2020. Now, as we know at the moment, Maxwell is currently on suicide watch, not because she's already tried to kill herself or anything like that, but because apparently they believed it was best to do so, seeing as Epstein had already killed himself while waiting for his own sex trafficking trial, and they probably believed that Maxwell would try to follow in his footsteps. So since receiving her sentence, not much has been heard about her, which is really the way it should be. Now, I've no doubt in my mind that she may try and use money to get out of situations. I've also no doubt that this may come in the form of bribes with corrupt officers and staff. People in jail who have money are still very, dangerous. Now, while writing these notes, I learned that she'd actually tried to appeal her sex trafficking conviction and 20-year sentence, which, if you ask me, 20 years just isn't enough. Now, the only comforting thing is that hopefully she'll just shrivel up and die in prison. However, let's put it into perspective. You have a fairly large amount of women who are now in their 40s who have been sexually abused, raped, and procured for prostitution by Maxwell for other disgusting people, such as maybe Prince Andrew, for example. These women have been dealing with the impact of Epstein's actions for almost 30 years, all the way through their young adult life, and you're giving to somebody who was a huge part of that 20 years for something that most of these women will now have to live with and bear with for the rest of their lives. And apparently in court she stood up to try and apologise to the victims. And I guess you could say that she basically tried to blame Epstein for everything by telling the court that Epstein was a manipulative, cunning man and that she regrets what she did. The only problem is, you don't get manipulated into becoming a paedophile